Welcome back to Casual Buys Rugby. As you know, this is Sean. Welcome, Sean. Welcome back to the channel.
Good to be back.
This is like almost a two-parter. It's all going to be in one video, but we're going to speak quickly about the game between New Zealand versus Italy. Well, the game between New Zealand and the thrashing of Italy.
You could call it a
And
game.
then I've got an interesting point of view, and I want to hear your opinion. So please don't just watch the video, engage with it. I want to read the comments because I'm pretty annoyed. I put it in my TikTok this morning. We'll get to it soon enough. But quick thoughts on the game, Sean. Absolute thrashing.
Yeah. We watched the game live, the entire game, and a lot of people were saying that I think because South Africa demolished New Zealand in the warm-up game and New Zealand lost against France in the opening game as well, people were kind of, I wouldn't say writing them off, but sort of putting them on the back burner, not really giving New Zealand a second thought. All the hype was around Ireland and there was a lot of sort of a negative hype around Australia and what's going on there. So people mostly forgot about New Zealand, I'd say. And then for some reason, people were thinking that Italy was going to put up a big fight and it's going to be a super competitive game and they might even get an upset, which I, from the start, thought was crazy. I didn't predict a thrashing like what happened yesterday, but I knew that New Zealand were going to come out for blood because, like I said, they're sort of flying under the radar, which never really happens. I mean, a lot of the focus on World Cups are almost always on New Zealand as well because they are always the team to beat.
Well, it's rugby heritage for New Zealand to peak at the time of the World Cup. And most people would probably say, listen, it was just Italy. Yeah, the same Italy that beat Australia, put up a fight against South Africa in the first half when we played against them. I mean, Italy is a tier 1 nation.
Yeah.
Italy lost yesterday further than Romania lost to South Africa, further than Romania lost to Ireland, the number one and number 2 teams
we didn't think
in the
was
world.
Possible for a team to put up a bigger total or bigger thrashing than Ireland did to Romania.
Exactly. So this is not a bashing of Italy at all. It's just saying how good New Zealand is. But getting to the point of the video, and you mentioned it quickly, that people were saying Italy stood a chance of an upset victory. Now, I'm not mad if you had that opinion. But my issue with rugby fans, rugby pundits, are flip-floppers. Okay, so I mentioned it in my TikTok, and it was just a joke. I'm still just joking about it lightheartedly, but it's annoying that you get people that are experts of the game just flip-flopping. Because let's go back a bit, okay? So, firstly, we played New Zealand at the empty Smart. As you know, we are South African supporters. So when I say we, it's the Bokke, okay? So we lost to New Zealand at the empty Smart. Of course, we got smashed, to be honest, in that first 20 minutes. It was a runaway victory. Can't even remember the scoreboard. What was it, like 32-20?
Yeah, I think it was 35
to 20, okay? And then you get people, especially like on off the ball, that say South Africa are not even close to the top 4 nations at this current stage. South Africa was 4th, and they're not close to the top 3 nations, which were France, Ireland, New Zealand. Then, forward a bit to the Twickenham game, we smashed New Zealand.
Yeah.
Okay?
And let's not pretend they didn't play a good team because they definitely played a almost full strength team. So
literally 1 or 2 guys out. Okay? And we played Caden Moody for the first time ever on outside centre. Yeah. So it's the same thing. Anyway, and then we smashed New Zealand, and then it's all of a sudden New Zealand on at the races. They're not favourites. They won't get anywhere in this World Cup. And South Africa is all of a sudden one of the favourites, if not the favourite to win the World Cup. You get these flip-flops literally after one bad performance. Literally, think about it. New Zealand versus France. France beats New Zealand, okay? For most of the game, it was a pretty tight contest. Yeah, France scored 2 tries at the end, and it was, okay, cool. Easy victory for them at the end. But it was a tight contest all the way through. Then it's New Zealand can all of a sudden get grouped with Italy to beat them.
well,
I don't understand it.
Delusion at its best.
And it's the same with the 2019 World Cup. Just think about it. New Zealand beat us in the opening game of the World Cup. People say, listen, Italy could pull the upset over South Africa. And South Africa could get grouped.
Yeah.
And it's like they get spanked by 50 there and by 80 here. And it's so annoying. Just this flip-flop mentality where it's one performance Any team can have one bad performance, lose one game, and then it's all of a sudden they won't get anywhere just because of one performance, even though it's a great team. I mean, to lose the opening game in a World Cup to New Zealand or France who's playing home, or lose a game to the number one team in the world in Ireland, you can't just change your whole perspective of everything, because those were tight games.
There's so many different factors that come into play in the game as well. I mean, injuries also play a big role. There are a lot of things. One team can just show up in the day. Like, we don't want to use the same excuse or sound like we're beating the same drum over and over. But for example, South Africa's game against Ireland, our kickers didn't show up. If our kickers showed up, we would have won that game. True, we did lose. But if our kickers showed up, we would have won that game. Same thing with, let's say, for example, New Zealand. If the All Blacks, if the way of playing and their structures and their, how can I say, game plan were executed perfectly, like they usually do against France, they could have probably won that game as well. So I also think it's also comes down to, on the day, which team, you know, executes their game plan better, in a sense. So it doesn't necessarily make one team, or New Zealand now, because they've lost to France in the opening game, now they're just trash. Obviously, as you can see in yesterday's game, yes, it was Italy. Italy isn't, you know, one of the top 5-6 nations in the World Cup, but they, like Divan said, it is a tier 1 nation. They do play rugby throughout the entire year, and let's not pretend that they are absolutely trash. They do have some good players and they do have potential, but to get thrashed 96 17, I mean, how can you look past that? How can you write off New Zealand after a performance like that? I mean, yeah.
The thing is, it's almost annoying to think there's people that write New Zealand off after the game against France. Then they put on an emphatic performance, and I said in the predictions this will be a statement victory, because I back New Zealand to do it. You don't look too much into a close loss. And now they're beating Italy, and now it's all of a sudden, yeah, they're one of the favourites again. That's what I mean with the flip-flop mentality. That's the whole point of the video, that people change their opinion like this. And it's crazy. One victory or one loss doesn't define what you're gonna do in the rest of the... And losing to France, you could probably say, okay, they might lose to South Africa if South Africa was also in the groups by some stretch of the imagination. Then you could say, okay, yeah, they can get grouped. They're not going to go far in the World Cup. But to lose to France and then say, oh, they're going to lose to Italy, it's like a massive jump. I mean, I don't even have an analogy, and that doesn't...
It's the same thing as when in the Rugby Championship, when we put on a good performance against Australia, we absolutely thrashed them. Then we barely beat... Okay, we lost against New Zealand badly. Then we barely beat Argentina. By 1 point, I think we beat them. 1 or 2 points. And then people were saying... Scottish fans were saying, oh, they really do believe South Africa isn't the same side we were 4 years ago. We don't look great. They really, really do believe that Scotland are going to beat us and we're going to get grouped.
Then you spank Argentina the week afterwards, and then it's like...
And then it's different. So... Like you said, just one bad performance doesn't make the team, that doesn't necessarily show what the team is capable of in future games. Because when it comes to the time we faced Scotland, we absolutely dominated them and we beat them really well. So it just goes to show you that you can't make a judgment based off one game. And that's what a lot of these pundits seem to be doing, especially the European sides.
So that brings us to the end of the video. As I said, please make this an interactive one. Tell me if you agree or disagree. This is not a bash on Italy at all. We love Italy. Even though they've had this big loss, they've gained or made so much progress over the past few years. Literally, almost just in the last 12 months.
Yeah.
Just look at where they were, state of disaster, almost like our country. And then,
almost like Australia.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, so let us know what you thought about it. Thank you for tuning in. See you next time. Bye.